Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in this video I'm going to be talking about all of the Blu-rays and 4Ks that I picked up for the month of January 2025. So this is the first haul of the year. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with some of the titles I've picked up here, a lot of upgrades. Yeah, just gonna get straight into it with the titles I've bought. So the first ones, as we go into the Blu-rays, first title I've got here is a movie called Dead Shack. This was kind of like a low-budget zombie movie. I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was daft. Nothing too serious. Nothing, as close in terms of the quality to what I hold as the highest sort of zombie movies, like the George Romero stuff. But it was tongue in cheek. It was good. It was fun. That's all I can say about it. Nothing more, nothing less. So that's Dead Shack. Next up, we've got a movie. I think this is from 2022 with Margot Qualley, and it is Stars at Noon. This was okay. I thought it was fine. It was a bit long in the tooth. It wasn't. Yeah, actually, it wasn't fine. It was probably a bit less than that, to be honest. I was just watching this movie wondering what the hell's going on. But yeah, Margaret Qualley, she's pretty good in the movie. She's up and coming star at the moment. She's just really sort of catapulted with movies like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and The Substance. But yeah, it was, I don't know. Check this one out and let me know what you think of it. So yeah, that's Stars at Noon. Next up, we've got a documentary about a massive horror series, and this has definitely been better than some of the entries in that series, to say the least. And it is a Shudder original, and it is the Doc of Chucky. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. Really long, really in-depth documentary, left no stone unturned, and yeah, really enjoyed it. I was quite surprised to find out about some of the actors that were involved in the series, that particularly to do with Child's Play 2. Yeah, it was interesting to find out, about some of the decisions that were made behind the scenes, involving some of the actors. And yeah, I just thought it was a really good, in-depth documentary. Really enjoyed it. Round about sort of Child's Play 2, Child's Play 3. With some of the decisions that they made. Yeah, I just really enjoyed it. That was my main sort of takeaway from it. But yeah, it's a series that has definitely got its ups and downs, in my opinion. I sort of, if I'm in total honesty, the only really two movies I enjoy from this series are the first two. But yeah, I can take or leave the rest. But this was a good in-depth look at all the movies. I really enjoyed this documentary. So that is, yeah, Doc of Chucky. Next up, we've got, starring Gemma Arterton and James Norton in Rogue Agent. This was a surprise. I really enjoyed this film. Sort of follows, James Norton's character, who is kind of like a bit of a con artist in this movie, but I think it was based on true events. I don't want to say anything else, in case it sort of gives anything else away, but I really enjoyed this film. I thought I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was, but yeah, really enjoyable. So that's Rogue Agent. Next up, I was a bit disappointed with this movie because the cast kind of really sold me on it. Stars Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and it is Killer Heat. So he's kind of like a private eye who's investigated, who's been brought in to investigate someone's passing away, and it's very much sort of involves that person's family and what's going on. I don't want to say again much more because it's worth going into completely blind, but I was just a bit disappointed because it was just a bit lackluster. It was very plain and very safe. But other than that, it was okay. Yeah, that's Killer Heat. Next up, we've got a horror film from last year. I enjoyed this one. It had some good moments in it, for sure, definitely. And that is Oddity. Really creepy stuff, particularly one scene that got me involved in a tent. I didn't see it coming, but it was good. It was really atmospheric. Not as quite as creepy, in my opinion, as Hereditary. I know a lot of people don't really like that movie, but for me, that's one of the best horror films I've seen in recent years, but this it just falls short of that, but it's still really good. Really, really got some really good creepy moments in it. So yeah, that's Oddity. And speaking of creepy moments, there were some scenes in this movie where I jumped out my skin. And yeah, it's an anthology. This is the first and only one that I've seen from this series, and it is VHS Beyond. Some of the stories in this I thought were really good. There was like a first-person shooter zombie type story in the movie, which I thought was really good. The best one for me, though, hands down, was a skydiving one, where it sort of lands in this, where these skydivers land in this sort of trees of orange, field of trees growing oranges, and there's just these creepy aliens like around. They've got to try and outrun it. Yeah, and a truck. I jumped out my skin. It got me really, really good. But yeah, the last story was a bit lackluster. Well, a lot lackluster. And some of the others were a lot of fun in this. But it's worth checking out if you kind of enjoy that stuff. It's just, the movie doesn't really structure these stories very well. It just throws them at you. And yeah, I took it for what it was. I was okay with that, but it's not going to work for everyone, I guess. But that's VHS Beyond. Next up, I'm a big fan of Alice Lowe. I really enjoy some of her movies like Sightseers and Prevenge. And again, this was another movie she directed and starred in, and that is Time Stalker. So this also stars Nick Frost as well. But it sort of follows her as she kind of goes through these different time periods, and she sees someone and has fallen in love with them. And she's just constantly trying to sort of spark up a relationship with them, but something ends up getting in the way each time in each time period. And I enjoyed it. It got a few laughs out of me, a few chuckles. It was good. I enjoyed it. That's Time Stalker. Next up, we've got probably one of the most sort of disappointing horror films of last year. Gets compared a lot to Totally Killer, but I know this movie kind of was at least written, or production went into works before that movie, but it is Time Cut. I thought this was okay. It was bang average. It was just all right. It was fun to watch. It just, the time travel element of this movie, I didn't buy that it was set in the time period that it was supposed to be in, not one little bit. And the characters were a bit generic. I could see where some things were going, but it was all right. It just, yeah, it was just lackluster for what it was. Totally Killer, in my opinion, was a much better movie. But yeah, this was okay. It was a good one-time watch, so that's Time Cut. Next up, we have, with Martin Freeman, Jenna Ortega, Miller's Girl. So yeah, this was a bit of an odd movie. I don't want to talk too much about it because it's just touches on some uncomfortable stuff, to say the least. So yeah, I just checked this out because Jenna Ortega, she's massive at the moment with the likes of Wednesday, Beetlejuice, X, Scream. And I just thought I want to check this one out just because she was in it and give it a go. But yeah, it was a bit of a weird movie, to say the least. So yeah, that's Miller's Girl. Next up, we've got, with Saoirse Ronan, Steve McQueen movie, and that is Blitz. I was actually quite surprised to see some surprising actors in this movie. I didn't know Stephen Graham was in this, didn't know Kathy Burke was going to be in it. And I was watching it and I was like, really enjoy this film, sort of about this mother and son who were kind of like torn apart through war that's going on. And there was also a musician in this movie as well. And I was kind of watching the film and I was like, I won't say who it was, but I was looking at them going, that looks like that musician. So I had a look at the cast on IMDb, and it turns out it was them. I'd never seen them act before, and I thought they were really good in this film, to be honest. But I'll let you check this one out for yourself to see who that was. But yeah, really good, solid movie. I enjoyed it. It wasn't amazing or anything like that, and I think Steve McQueen's done better movies like Widows and 12 Years a Slave, but this was still a good entry into his filmography. I enjoyed it, so that's Blitz. Next up, we've got, with Michael Keaton and Mila Kunis. I'm a massive Michael Keaton fan, and that is Goodrich. So yeah, this again sort of follows Michael Keaton's character. He's kind of like, he owns this art gallery, and his daughter from his, I believe, his first marriage, played by Mila Kunis, and he kind of has two young children from his second marriage, and that marriage has fallen apart for him. He's got a lot going on in this film for him, and that's kind of the premise of this movie. He's just kind of juggling all these things. He's trying to rebuild that relationship with his eldest daughter. He's coping with his wife leaving him. The art gallery that he owns is going through some struggles, and it's just about him coping with all of this stuff. It was a good performance from him, but that's kind of all the movie has to offer. It doesn't do anything groundbreaking with all this material that it has to work with, but it's still a good, enjoyable film. I enjoyed this one, so that is Goodrich. Next up, we've got another Saoirse Ronan film. I didn't enjoy this one as much as Blitz, but that is The Outrun. Yeah, it was good. It had some good performances in it, definitely, but for me, Blitz was a much, much more better movie. I know it's unfair to compare the two, but give this one a go and see what you think. I thought it was good, but I just enjoyed Blitz a hell of a lot more. So yeah, that's The Outrun. Next up, we've got a sort of the new Robert Zemeckis movie with Tom Hanks and Robin Wright, and that is Here. I enjoyed this. Again, the concept of this camera sort of staying in this one place for millions and millions of years, about how this house was built and the residents that lived there, and it kind of mainly focuses on Tom Hanks and Robin Wright in this movie. But the concept was better than the execution that it had to deal with, the story in it, because there wasn't really much of a plot. If you misheard something or didn't hear something in this movie, that really, really hurts the movie, in my opinion, because there is no cohesive plot. It's time jumping all over the place. But yeah, that's really all the movie does. It's hinged on this concept of being shot in the same place, and that's kind of what it relies on in the best part of the movie, if I'm honest. But it's an interesting experiment. It's worth a watch, definitely, just for the star power behind it. But I think this could have been just a little bit better. So yeah, that's Here. Next up, we have Your Monster. So again, this was a really good sort of drama. I enjoyed this one. I'm going to have to give this a rewatch, I think, because I don't really know what to make of it. It was a good romantic drama, but it was just weird. It sort of follows this girl and how she became sick and her relationship broke down, and dealing with the aftermath of that. But yeah, she finds and meets someone new as well at the same time. But yeah, I just don't really know what else to say about it. It was just odd and weird, but I kind of liked it at the same time. I'll give it another go though at some point, but that's Your Monster. Next up, I got this one because it was a Christmas movie and I watched this at the tail end of New Year's, and I thought, I'll give it a go. I like Linda Cardellini. I think she's a cracking actress. And this had Ben Stiller in it as well, and it was Nutcrackers. But I think a lot of people who've reviewed this movie have kind of said the same thing. It's just very, very generic. It's Ben Stiller's the main star, but it doesn't really do anything interesting with him. He's kind of just on autopilot in this movie. You kind of see where things are going. He's been left to look after like these three kids and this house, and Linda Cardellini's kind of like the social worker looking after everything, making everything sure is everything's okay. But yeah, it was just a bang average movie. Yeah, that's Nutcrackers. So next up, we have a much, much better movie, in my opinion. I went to see this at the cinema. I had a cracking time with it. Sebastian Stan, and that is A Different Man. Yeah, this is a cracking film. I really took a lot from this movie. If you're a very insecure person about how you look, definitely check this movie out, because it kind of puts things into perspective for you. It sort of follows a man who has this really sort of noticeable disfigurement to his face, and he's given the chance to sort of have this corrective surgery that can kind of fix him, if that's the proper term. It doesn't feel right saying that, but it gives him the chance to look different and he does this in thinking that it will make him happier and make his life better. And then he meets someone else who kind of has the same disfigurement, but he's very much embraced it. He's very much accepted it, and it doesn't bother him in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't affect him socially. And it kind of just, like I said, puts things into perspective for you. It's a very, very interesting movie. It's a very deep movie. It's not a very rewatchable film. It doesn't have that rewatch factor, but it's still a good, solid, decent drama, which has a lot to say. I enjoyed this one, so that is A Different Man. Next up, we had a really, really fun horror film here. I had a great time with this one, and it is Mr. Crockett. So again, this was very much a blend of, a lot of people are saying this, Freddy Krueger and Mr. Rogers. Yeah, a kids TV host who pretty much, whenever parents are treating the kids badly in the real world, he comes out of his show, kills the parents in horrific ways, and takes the kids into his realm. And that's pretty much the movie. A lot of kids sort of, have been reported as missing in this movie. That's kind of what kickstarts the investigation. But yeah, it was a decent horror film. I enjoyed it. I'd love to see where this goes in the future if we get another one. But yeah, it was a fantastic little horror film. I really, really enjoyed it. So that's Mr. Crockett. Next up from Kevin Smith, we have the 4:30 movie. I enjoyed this one as well. I get what this movie was doing. It was playing into that nostalgia realm in the 80s. But again, the movie just didn't make me sort of believe, a little bit like Time Cut. And that's where the similarity ends for me. But just like Time Cut, I didn't buy the time period that it was supposed to be portraying here. It did it a lot better than Time Cut, but I still wasn't convinced. The dialogue was a bit, it felt a bit unfinished for me, unironed. A few creases here and there. But other than that, it's a good, solid movie. It's entertaining, to say the least. There's a lot of fun characters in here as well. The chap who owns the cinema in this movie was really, really a lot of fun. He's quite funny in a lot of stuff he's in. Like The Hangover, and I've heard he's good in the TV show Community. But yeah, the 4:30 movie, I enjoyed this one. It just wasn't perfect. So yeah, that's the 4:30 movie. Next up, we have really good drama here, Ralph Fiennes, and that is Conclave. Yeah, this was a really, really good sort of religious drama. Powerhouse performances in it. Like I said, Ralph Fiennes, Stanley Tucci, Isabella Rossellini. Amazing, amazing cast. And yeah, just some great, great performances in this film. So that is Conclave. Next up, we have a Christmas movie that was, I believe, being absolutely slated. It was like being called the worst movie of the year. But for me, I had a great time with this film. Far from perfect, but I enjoyed the cast. J.K. Simmons, Chris Evans, Dwayne Johnson, Lucy Liu, and that is Red One. This was a lot of fun. And for me, what was supposed to be like this kid's Christmas movie, it's quite dark in places. I loved the scene with Krampus in the movie. I thought that was so much fun, so entertaining. The final climax of the movie as well, again, was quite dark, involving this giant monster. But overall, I can see myself watching this and adding it to my Christmas roster each year. Every time December comes around, this is going in there as well with some of the heavy hitters for me at Christmas time. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. That's Red One. Now, next up, I've got to say now that the two lead actors in this movie, Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield, in We Live in Time, for me, these two actors just absolutely worked so well. The two different actors, it was completely oil and water, but they just mixed and had so much chemistry. It was just such a joy to watch in this heartbreaking movie. I absolutely loved it. It jumps from here and there in its narrative, where it's just jumping from time period to time period. But the performances in it are so good. The reactions when arguments happen, when devastating news has been delivered, they just react perfectly like you would in real life, I guess. Because I just bought into it so well. And yeah, the two actors were great. Really good, solid film, in my opinion. Again, the rewatch factor isn't there because the movie does have this heartbreaking element to it. You don't want to go through too many times, but the execution, spot on, in my opinion. So that's We Live in Time. Next up, this is going to get a 4K soon, so I am going to pick this up on 4K. I really had a great time with this movie. I love the dialogue in it. Hugh Grant in Heretic. So yeah, really good, solid religious thriller. I'd say I wouldn't go as far as say horror film, although some horror elements are there, definitely. Yeah, really good, sort of following these two sort of missionaries who try to talk to people about joining their church. And Hugh Grant has some very interesting questions and concepts and ideologies. That's all I'm going to say about it. Really suckered into this one. Really awesome dialogue to it as well. There was a scene involving games of Monopoly that really got me thinking. But yeah, good, solid movie. Really enjoyed this one. So that is Heretic. Next up, we have one of the most fun action movies I've ever had a good time with from last year. Taron Egerton, and that is Carry On. Yeah. So this stars Taron Egerton, Jason Bateman. Taron Egerton kind of works at airport security, and Jason Bateman comes up to him and says, "You're going to let this parcel through or I'm going to kill your fiance." And it is just about Taron Egerton, like, what the hell do I do? How the hell do I stop this? How do I get out of this situation? And it's action-packed. It's entertaining to boot. Really enjoyed this one. So that is Carry On. Next up, we've got the third entry into the Venom series, and that is Venom: The Last Dance. I'll be totally honest, this was my favourite Venom movie. I wasn't keen on the first one. The second one just felt so bland. This one was more of the same, but it had a little bit more likability for me. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was kind of like the different symbiotes and how they sort of came into play at the end of the movie. I enjoyed Rhys Ifans and his on-the-road family in this movie. I enjoyed this one out of all three Venom movies the most, if I'm honest. And glad to have this one. So that is Venom: The Last Dance. Next up, we've got starring Anna Kendrick and directed by her as well. Woman of the Hour. Yeah, really interesting movie. I knew this was based on a true story about a woman who went on, I guess, the American equivalent of our version of Blind Date over here in the UK. And she had to pick between three guys, and the one she went for actually turned out to be a serial killer who applied to go on the show. And yeah, it delves into a little bit of what he got up to prior to being on the show, and a little bit after as well. But yeah, this was it was good. It was good. It was unsettling. It was not perfect, but yeah, it had me interested. It had me engaged, and I liked it. So that's Woman of the Hour. Next up, we have the new movie from Jason Reitman. Enjoyed this one. A bit too much going on for me, but it is Saturday night. Yeah, a absolutely stacked cast. Sort of about, I believe this is the first airing of Saturday Night Live and the chaos and pandemonium that took place and how unprepared everyone was. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it was just, there was just a bit too much going on that I found it a little bit too hard to follow. Saturday Night Live has never really been a thing over here in the UK, at least from my perspective. It's been much more of an American thing. But yeah, it was just a bit too overcrowded, just too much going on. J.K. Simmons in this movie as well. I'll be honest, I thought he was a fucking arsehole in this movie. There was a scene between him and Chevy Chase in this film. I was just like, oh man, you're such a fucking dick. But yeah, it was. I still enjoyed the movie. It was fun. It was entertaining. Just a bit overstuffed, and yeah, it kind of sort of was falling apart a little bit. I could, not falling apart, but I could see the cracks. But I still enjoyed the movie, so that's Saturday night. Next up, I picked this one up because I do want to properly invest in a nice Blu-ray 4K set when we do finally get the fourth movie for this one, and it is Terrifier 3. I had a blast with this one. It was my favourite horror film of last year. It's Art of the Clown back again in all of his over-the-top goriness, glory. That is Terrifier 3. Yeah, I just adored this one. These movies for me keep getting better and better. I did think part 2 was going to be tough to top, but Terrifier 3 just might have done it. It's between those two, I think. I still enjoyed the first one, but 2 and 3 definitely up the ante. But yeah, hopefully looking forward to investing a decent set when we get that fourth movie. So that's Terrifier 3. And next up, a movie that I actually enjoyed, but I know that fans of the book would probably really, really dislike this movie. Fans of the original TV mini movie would absolutely, not be a fan of this potentially. But for me, and I know a few other people really, really enjoyed this as well, but it's the sort of reimagining, retelling of Salem's Lot. I had fun with this movie. I really enjoyed it, if I'm honest, guys. I dug that Gordon Lightfoot song that played in the movie, Sundown. I haven't really stopped listening to that song since, and the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Those two songs I've just sort of found a new lease of love for, and I've kind of got to owe it to this movie for displaying that Sundown song. I just loved it. But I know it wasn't for everyone. I know some people weren't a fan of it, and that's fine. I get it. I think the overall run of the production was kind of butchered and cut. Whether we'll get a uncut version of it at some point, who knows? But yeah, I can understand fans of the original source material not liking this. I can completely get it. It does feel like it's kind of taken the greatest hits of the book and just put them together. But for me, it worked, and I enjoyed it. So yeah, that's Salem's Lot. And the last Blu-ray we have here now is with Aubrey Plaza, and that is My Old Ass. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I enjoyed the second half more than the first. It sort of follows this girl who is kind of like, sort of pretty much is partly discovered herself. She's realized that she's gay. She's going to move away from home, and she kind of comes across Aubrey Plaza, who is her future self, and she kind of has like some words of wisdom with what's going on, and certain people to avoid, and kind of what to do. And she keeps popping up here and there. But for me, the second half of the movie was where it really shone. This relationship blossomed in the movie, and it really took off from there. And it kind of displays like, what would you do in this situation if you knew certain key information that would potentially change everything? And I really like the way this movie went about that. I thought it was good. It was a good, solid film. Acting all around was really top notch. Really enjoyed it. I don't think it's going to crack my top 15, but it's close. Yeah, really enjoyed this one. So that's My Old Ass. So yeah, that's pretty much all of the Blu-rays, guys. Next up, we're going to get into the 4Ks. So coming up first, in terms of 4Ks, first one we've got here is DreamWorks' new animated movie. I dug this one. I thought it was a tad bit overrated, if I'm honest, but I still enjoyed the movie. It had a good message. It had some really good take on the animation, and that is The Wild Robot. Yeah, good movie. I say overrated. That still means I can still enjoy an overrated film. It just, for me, it isn't as good as what everyone else was saying. A lot of people, had this movie topping their favourites of last year. It's definitely going to be on my list for sure, but for me, there was just some other better movies. But again, I can't really fault this film in its execution. It was really good, really fantastic. If you've not seen this one, check it out, give it a go, because it's definitely worth your time. So that's The Wild Robot. Next up, I gave this movie a rewatch the other night. I watched it back to back with the original as well, so I watched the first and second one, and I had an absolute ball. Really, really good horror film. Not as fun or as entertaining as Terrifier 3 for me, but it was up there, and it is Smile 2. Yeah, I really enjoyed the direction that this sequel took. It does a completely new, fresh take with a new character, and I kind of missed some of the things in the first movie, definitely for sure. But this ups the scale, it ups the ante. There's definitely some creepy moments in this movie. There's one scene in particular with the bedroom with all of these dancers in this bedroom that just stop and look at you. It's so unsettling. But for me, yeah, this was a good, solid horror film. I really enjoyed it. So that's Smile 2. Next up, we've got a 4K steelbook of an upgrade for me of a movie from 1995. One of David Fincher's best, if not his best, and that is Seven. Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman. I haven't checked out the 4K transfer of this yet, but I was so keen to upgrade it. I've got it there for when I do have the nits to watch this movie again, because it is one of the best movies from the 90s. Absolutely superb film, so looking forward to checking out the 4K eventually. So that is Seven. Next up from Mubi, I've seen a few people talk about this film, so I gave it a go, and I stupidly put in the Blu Ray, and I completely forgot. I didn't check. I just put the Blu Ray disc in. It was a dumbass moment. So I want to go back and give it a rewatch on 4K. But when I was looking at the Blu Ray, I didn't realize that I was watching the Blu Ray. I was blown away by it. I was like, wow, this 4K disc looks amazing, not knowing it was the Blu Ray. But it is from Mubi, and it is Perfect Days. Yeah, like I said, saw a lot of people on YouTube talking about this one, so I thought I'd take a punt on it. And yeah, it's a really well-made movie. There's not a lot going on, not a lot happening in this film, but what is going on, it's just done so well. I don't know what else I can say about it. It's just follows the day in the life of this toilet cleaner. Cleans these public toilets, and yeah, that doesn't sound very appealing on paper, but this movie makes it work. I enjoyed it. I just thought it was really good. So some good characters in it. So yeah, that's Perfect Days. Now next up, I went a little bit nuts with some of the deals that were on with HMV. So I decided to pick up a lot of 4Ks that were on the 2 for £30 deal. So yeah, I got a lot of upgrades. So the first one we've got is from Studio Canal. This is not a good movie. The acting in this makes me chuckle quite a bit. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bridget Nielsen, and that is Red Sonja. Yeah, I remember watching this on TV when I was a kid and absolutely loving this movie. I thought it was so entertaining. But over the years, I've kind of discovered that, yeah, it's not a well-made film by any means, but the entertaining factor is there, man. I enjoy this one. I really like it. It's daft, it's silly. It's got some really over-the-top moments in it from some actors, but I can't help but like this movie. That's Red Sonja. Next up, we've got a decent remake here that I don't think gets talked about all that much, but I like this film. I wouldn't go as far to say as I prefer it over the original, but the original is such like a bona fide classic, but the remake isn't anything to turn your nose up at either, but I enjoyed it with a great cast, and it is The Italian Job. I watched this on 4K last week. I had a ball with it. I had a blast with it. I went to cinema to see this as well with a group of friends and for the first time, and yeah, it was a lot of fun then, and it was a lot of fun now. So yeah, that's The Italian Job. Now this next one I had a great time with. Well, it was up and down, but when it was up, it was great because I absolutely love this movie. It's my favourite Zack Snyder movie, and it is Watchmen. So I decided to get the ultimate cut, see what the extended scenes were, but to my surprise, a lot of them were animated. And whenever the movie went to those animated segments, it kind of took me out the movie. But I just love this movie so much. I don't know what it is. I didn't read the source material at all, didn't read the comic book. I saw this at the cinema when it came out, again with a group of friends, and this movie blew me away. I just absolutely loved it. I love the soundtrack to it. May have one of my favourite opening credit scenes ever. I just adore it. To the sound of Bob Dylan's The Times They Are Changing. I love that song. And I think when we came out of the cinema, we were just confused by that opening. Like, what the hell was going on? We didn't understand it. But for me, I've just taken it as it's showing the lineup of these superheroes and how, as the song would suggest, the times change, how the lineup changed, how things going on in the world affected the superheroes that were in this lineup of Minutemen. I loved it and how they became the Watchmen. I just thought it was fantastic. I just love this movie. I just think it's so good. It's one of my favourite superhero movies. It's downplayed, it's gritty, it's dark, it's violent. Love it. So that's Watchmen. So next up, I picked up the first four. I know there was a fifth movie, but I picked up the Jack Ryan collection. So we have The Hunt for Red October, Patriot Games, Clear and Present Danger, and The Sum of All Fears. So yeah, I had these movies. I still have them on VHS, and I just really couldn't get into them. And I thought, you know what? I haven't seen these in a long time. I'll probably binge watch these at some point, and I'll give them a go on 4K because 4K tends to enhance my enjoyment of a movie as well. And yeah, I just thought I'd give these a go at some point. So I've got them ready to go when I'm in the mood to watch them. Yeah, because I just have a little bit of nostalgia for them and wanted to give them a go on 4K. So that's the 4 movie Jack Ryan films. So next up we have one of my favourite Stallone movies from the early 90s. Again from Studio Canal, and that is Cliffhanger. I really enjoy this one. It's edge of your seat stuff. It's so much fun. I get absolutely sweaty palms watching that opening scene of this movie. It just gets me every time. And John Lithgow always plays a fun villain. So yeah, really enjoy this one. That's Cliffhanger. Next up, we've got a Stanley Kubrick film. I didn't even know this was by Stanley Kubrick for a very long time because it just doesn't feel like one of his movies. And it is Spartacus with Kirk Douglas. Yeah, absolute sword and sandals epic, this one. But yeah, really enjoy it. Really looking forward to checking out the 4K as well. So that's Spartacus. Next up was a first time watch for me. I thought this movie was okay. Solid 6 out of 10. Good cast though. Ben Affleck, Jason Bateman, Andy Garcia, Alicia Keys, Ray Liotta, Ryan Reynolds, Jeremy Piven in Smoking Aces. So yeah, this was kind of like a little cops and robbers movie that was just alright in my opinion. Above average. Yeah, just that's all I can really say about it. Yeah, that's Smoking Aces. Next up, we've got a bona fide classic, well, 2 bona fide classics in my opinion with John Wayne. So the first one, we've got Howard Hawks' Rio Bravo. Yeah, don't have too much history with this movie, but yeah, I really enjoy this one. It's a classic western, and yeah, I'm looking forward to giving it a go on 4K. So that is Rio Bravo. And next up, keeping in the same vein with John Wayne, we have as well James Stewart in The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. I remember seeing this on DVD and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a fantastic film. So I'm really looking forward to checking this one out on 4K as well when I get around to it. So that's The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. And next up, went a bit nuts with, like I said, with the movies on the HMV deal. I didn't realise I'd picked up so many Tom Cruise movies. So I've got 5 altogether. So the first one we've got is from Tony Scott, and that is Days of Thunder. I remember liking this movie a lot when I first saw it. Haven't seen it since DVD, to be honest. And yeah, it's an entertaining movie. It's definitely got its problems, but I'll give it a go on 4K, see if my opinion changes. So that's Days of Thunder. Next up, we've got one, same director as well, that I've grown to have a decent appreciation for this movie because of the sequel. The sequel absolutely blew me away. It's one of the best sequels ever made, so I decided to get the first one on 4K, and it is Top Gun. Great soundtrack, just a fun movie. It's far from perfect, but I've grown to like this film. And yeah, I had such an entertaining time with it last year, watching the two movies back to back. It was absolutely great. And yeah, it was. I actually watched these two movies while Everton played Liverpool in the derby, and Everton actually ended up winning that game. So I might do that again next month. So yeah, that's Top Gun. Next up, we've got absolute powerhouse performances in this one. Tom Cruise, Jack Nicholson, Demi Moore, Few Good Men. Absolutely amazing courtroom drama. Like I said, the acting is just on point here. It's scary how good these actors are in this movie. And I'm looking forward to checking this out on 4K. So that's A Few Good Men. Next up, we've got a movie that I actually made a video about movies I couldn't get into. And this was on there. And I thought, I'm gonna take a punt on it. I'll give it another go. And it's Tom Cruise again in Vanilla Sky. So yeah, I thought, why not? I'll give this one a go again, and we'll see if my enjoyment gets enhanced at all in any way, shape, or form. So that is Vanilla Sky. The last Tom Cruise movie here I picked up again, one from Steven Spielberg. Haven't seen this again from DVD. It's a remake. Decent little remake in my opinion. I enjoyed the original as well, but this is War of the Worlds. Yeah, I remember really liking this. I like that sequence where like the aliens sort of first come down and they're sort of vaporizing everyone. That's really tense. But yeah, looking forward to giving this one another go when I get round to it. So that's War of the Worlds. And the last 4K I got on the deal is a bit of a bona fide classic. Gregory Peck, Audrey Hepburn, and that is Roman Holiday. I absolutely love these slipcovers as well that Paramount are doing. They're so vibrant, so colourful. But yeah, for a black and white movie, I want to give this one another go and see what the 4K transfer on it is like, because I think 4K really, really lends to black and white movies. So yeah, that's Roman Holiday. So next up, we've actually got 3 titles here now from Scream Factory. I don't get too many Scream Factory titles because they're just so expensive to import as well. And in my opinion, if you don't get one with a slipcover, there's just nothing more like that kills the mood when you get a Scream Factory special collector's edition without a slipcover. But I've got to give a massive shout out here to Keith Ufari Pictures, who helped me out getting these for a very, very decent and reasonable price, as my friend Nige would say. So we've got 3 titles here, all with slips. The first one we have is a movie by Wes Craven, and that is Shocker. So yeah, really looking forward to checking this one out again. I had the DVD, been meaning to give it a rewatch, but I don't have to now, as I'm going to be making that leap straight into 4K. So that is Shocker. And next up, we've got from John Carpenter, one of the movies from John Carpenter that I think is seriously underrated. It's definitely not his best work, but it's not his worst either, in my opinion. And that is Village of the Damned. I really, really enjoy this film. I think it looks gorgeous. I've only seen it on Blu Ray before, and that looked amazing. God knows what the 4K is going to look like. A Scream Factory, to see what they've done with it. But yeah, this is a stellar, gorgeous looking movie. But yeah, the cast in it is great. Some people might say they're miscast. Yeah, I can't argue with that, but I really like seeing them in this movie. And yeah, it's a decent John Carpenter film in my opinion. So that's Village of the Damned. And next up we have a movie that I just absolutely adore this film. I love the 3 leads in it. Meryl Streep, Bruce Willis, Goldie Hawn. it's always seen as the black sheep of Robert Zemeckis' filmography, this one. I've never understood that. I love it, I adore it, and it is. Death Becomes Her. This movie is so much fun. I just love it. I can't not dislike this movie. I just love everything about it. I don't know what it is. If it's that story about seeking the fountain of youth, it's just so much fun. I just adore this. Bruce Willis is legit funny in this movie. He's hilarious. I've never seen like a performance from him like the one in this movie. He's just so funny. The scene where he has to come to terms with what he believes, defies every natural law in this movie is just so funny when he's having that conversation with Meryl Streep. Not to get too much into the plot of the movie, but he is just plays this part so well by a man who just looks baffled by what's happening. He's hysterical in this film. Love it. Not taking anything away from the two actresses, but Bruce Willis is a star for me. And I love what they do with him at the end of this movie. I'm not going to say too much more than that, but you kind of just felt happy for him at the end of this film with what he went through. But yeah, I just love this one. It's always, like I said, always been considered the black sheep from Robert Zemeckis' filmography, and I don't get it. I love it. Is it as well made, or is it as good as the likes of Back to the Future, Forrest Gump, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? No, but I still love it. I just think it's a great film. It's something different to those movies, but yeah, I just adore it. So that's Death Becomes Her. The last 4K that I picked up this month was a very, very last minute purchase for me, but I put this on. It was a good collector's edition, but I didn't know it was going to be this good. And it is from Hammer, and it is Captain Kronos Vampire Hunter. So this is the 5-disc special edition that Hammer recently put out. It looks gorgeous. I really enjoyed the film as well. Really, really enjoyed it. Yeah, the only really sort of actor that was in the movie that I recognised was the absolutely stunning and gorgeous Caroline Munro. Anything she's in, I'm there. And yeah, this movie was such a joy. Really, really enjoyed it. Hammer, for me, is one of my biggest blind spots when it comes to movies and movie studios and things like that. I've barely scratched the surface when it comes to Hammer movies. But this, for me, and this set was just such a great purchase. Really, really enjoyed it. It's a 5-disc set, 2 4Ks, 2 Blu-rays, and a soundtrack, I believe, or a special features disc. And yeah, it comes with 2 booklets, art cards, a poster. Yeah, just some of the artwork on this when you open it up as well. Like, it is just stunning and gorgeous. So there's the front and the back. And there's all your goodies inside. So yeah, like I said, 2 booklets, art cards, a poster, and there's your 5 discs. Just there's loads of unboxings for this on YouTube. So if you want to delve into it more, seek those videos out. But yeah, this for me was just a really, really gorgeous buy and buy, and I love the movie as well to boot. So that is Captain Kronos, Vampire Hunter. So yeah, that is it, guys. Those are all the Blu-ray and 4K pickups that I got for the month of January 2025. I'm just going to say, I do have another video planned, and it's going to take me a little while to make this video. I'm going to see how I get on with it, and it's something that I don't really talk about on this channel because I am a movie person. And what I'm going to be doing is, well, the long and short of it is, I'm going to be doing a list of my top 20 favorite TV shows of all time. And yeah, it's I'm not really a TV person. I barely ever talk about TV on this channel. And yeah, I'm going to be delving into my top 20 favorite TV shows of all time because I think it's long overdue. I sadly won't ever, and I can go on the record for saying this, I won't ever do a top favourite films of all time list, because that for me is just an impossible task. But I think with TV shows, I haven't seen that many, so I think it's a much easier mountain to climb with that list. So I will be doing that at some point next month. It's just going to take me a while to get that video together, but appreciate your patience on that one. And yeah, gonna leave the video there, guys, and say thanks very much for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.